Well, hello everybody. How are things? It's me. I thought I'd start with some music today. Just experimenting. Johan Shark, how are things? Does all go well with everybody else? Both of you? Today, for your viewing enjoyment, I'm going to go over the transformation of Generation Toy Redbull. Mr. J Dog. Yeah, I ended up starting a little late today. I was transferring I got new cell phones and I was transferring my phone numbers to my new carrier. And it took a little longer than I thought it would. But it worked out pretty good. I was pretty pleased with the process. It wasn't too bad. We're going to be talking about Generation Toy GT-11 Redbull. Just going to get some dust off of there. Of course, I had some propellant leak out, so now it's going to taste funny. You know, they put that bitterant in there to keep you from becoming a huffer. All right. We're up to 4 concurrent. Man, we were at 5 for a second, and someone decided that it was too boring. I'm sorry. Anyway. So this is GT-11 Redbull. We're going to do a transformation into bull mode. And then we'll go back to robot mode, because that's how I'm going to display him. I don't know where I'm going to display him. He's kind of a weird thing. Because he's not Beast Wars per se. He turns into kind of a mechanical bull. Which I think is cool. I like it. They got some nice details on here that make it look like the Countach, or whatever. This whole panel is clearly designed. It's very sideswipe, which is part of the reason I got it. I don't know that I get every one of these, and I'm a little bit, I'm a little on the fence with these. I did the Gorilla that they did, that review, and it's kind of BS because there's an artist named, I'm going to look it up real quick. Let's see. T-Beast. Yeah, the guy's name is, and I don't know how to pronounce this, but the name is Kuromoki Zukan. I hope that's close enough. It's an artist. And he made a bunch of designs. And I'll try to find the one that is specifically this, because I found it the other day. But apparently Generation Toy didn't give him like any credit for his design, which is kind of BS, because Generation Toy is clearly borrowing from his design. I can't rule out the possibility that they're doing like a, there is some sort of deal between them. But look what this guy drew, including the Countach details. I mean, it's his design, clearly. The same was true of the Gorilla. Here he is. I mean, look, that's the Generation Toy Gorilla, plainly. So, I mean, on the one hand, these are really cool designs, and I would love to see more of them done. And on the other hand, I think it kind of sucks that this artist made these things, and Generation Toy is just gonna make his designs. I mean, granted, Generation Toy contributes their own element to it, which is, actually making it transformable, because obviously this guy doesn't have to worry about the details of it. Although it looks like he kind of does, like he puts things places. But there you go. But I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on getting more of these, because I feel like Generation Toy should at least give that guy some credit, since they're plainly borrowing from his design. Got to bring my window back up to see if anyone's chatting. Can make sure. He needs a small backpack. I mean, he has a little bit of a backpack. See? There's a backpack. But it's not very big, so that's how you can tell it's not a Takara. Because they didn't pack a bunch of shit into his backpack, but it's pretty nice. The hands are a little clawy, you know? Do you see them? I don't quite agree with that. It's just a single chunk. So it's very early MP style hands, except it does have a movable thumb. So he's like, grab things. And there's a bit of a trick to getting the hands to stow away, and we'll go over that. I mean, it's shown in the video, but maybe if you watch the stop motion, you don't realize how important the step is, but we're just going to straighten that up, and we're going to bring it down. I like to leave it up at first, like this. It creates a little more clearance, so this thing, instead of hanging like that, it can hang a little further down. No big deal. So we'll start with the upper. There's a bit of a trick to this. We'll release these locks, and then there's like a post here. You can see you can kind of pull on it, and it's not super elegant. I guess you could call it a clearance issue because you have to finagle it a little bit. But what I like to do is, you can see this. There's a hinge there, and if you bend it up, not the shoulder. I mean, you can do the shoulder if you want to. You can do stuff like that. But the hinge itself, it creates like a gap, which is going to be useful in a minute. But it also gives you a little more leverage to rotate this whole thing back 90 degrees. Otherwise, there's a shoulder joint there, and you can see this armature doesn't get affected at all by that movement. But if I bend it up and I release this pin, then I can flip it up like that. And what I want to do is make sure that the arm, that we've created that gap right there. So no gap. Gap. All right, so we're going to do the other side real quick. If I was a particularly annoying reviewer, I might say something like, second verse, same as the first, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that to you. I have too much respect. So we're going to use our spudger, because what we want to do is just separate these pins here. And it's just a little easier to do it that way. You can kind of push on the front to get it to go, but and I'm doing that too early, so we're just going to stop talking about that. We're going to pretend that never happened. Anyway, so I've got my gaps there. So I got a gap. You can see the gap. And there's a gap on the other side. And the reason for that is it really helps create space for the bull head to go away or go back if you fit these into the gap. So if the gap wasn't there, these don't really have anywhere to go, and they don't spread out enough. But if you create that gap, you can kind of put those in there, and then you have a whole bunch of space to deal with that bull head going into position. Now the horns actually tuck into these cavities here. You can see a hole. And so to just get it out with all the space that we've created, it's just a matter of kind of lifting it up like that. And then we create enough space so the bull horns don't rub too much on these panels either. But we're just going to push it up out of the way like that. And then we can go ahead and kind of close the chest. So these flip down. You have to kind of angle them a little bit because they have a tab that has to lock in. Same thing over here. And then we just bring these forward. There's kind of a double armature there, like a double hinge. We just want to bring them forward, and they don't really lock together that much, but they have guide pins basically. They seat together, but it can come unseated a lot, and that's just the way it is. So now we're going to we can push from here. I'm just going to stick my finger in there and push, or like I said, you can use a spudger just to avoid any unnecessary stress. But we're just going to bring this down like that. We can bring the arms forward now and close those gaps because they don't matter anymore. And then we're going to flip these in, and they're just on a little double hinge. This is out, this is in. Fun fact, I accidentally had them out when he was in bull mode, so the bull mode's arms are actually, the front legs are sticking out a little further than you would expect. And I only discovered it halfway through the transformation, I went to put the head away, the bull head, and there wasn't enough space because they were out during bull mode, and I just kind of blindly moved them in, and it didn't feel right at the time. I was like, why would the shoulders get narrower? What am I doing wrong? And then I started trying to put the bull head away, and there wasn't enough clearance. And so I had to rewind like 50 frames and just start over again. So when he turns around to turn to the back, he goes from having the arms inappropriately out for bull mode to being in for bull mode, so I can show them going out. But there's a fun little behind the scenes for you. Wasn't that fun? Everyone had a great time. So anyway, you move these in for bull mode if you don't forget. It won't cause problems if you don't, but it's not right. And then this flips back up and it ends up engaging a separate set of holes there. So that's that. And then the head can be a little tricky, but they left a little gap, a little angle, a little void here on the backpack. And so there are ways for the head to, like, you can like turn it around, and you can do all kinds of finagly stuff to get it to put it away flat. But if you just do it like this, it's less steps, you don't have to mess with it, and it sticks up a little bit like that. But the backpack has no trouble covering that up. And then we can take this, there's a little tab hole, we can tab it in, and now we're done. We're done with the torso, basically. So now we're going to rotate the arms out 90 degrees. You got to do it sometime. We're going to do it now. You flip this around and then flip this up. No notes there, really. You saw it happen in the video. You're seeing it happen here. The arms can be a little finagly. This whole thing, like when you rotate the arms, it helps to, remember this peg, the square peg, it helps to make sure that actually goes along with the arm. I mean, you can rotate the arm without it, but I don't know, it's just lined up better. It's intended to be that way, let's say. All right. So the arms, we're going to flip out the foot here. This flips out. And we're just going to go ahead and flip it over just to get it out of the way. We're going to put the hands away. Here's where you have a tricky bit. So it helps to put the fingers like that inside the thumb, like you're making a bad fist. And you bring it down. You have to rotate it a little bit as it comes around. And in this position, it goes away pretty easily, but it's sticking up too much for in a minute. So what we're going to do is... going to show you here. We're going to open the hand now that it's in place, and we're going to lower the thumb so it's touching the finger. And now it's flat enough that this will flip around properly in a minute. So we're just going to do the same thing over here. Tra-la-la. You can do it without a spudger or something, but it's just easier. You just make sure it seats all the way in flat. You want it to basically not stick up at all. And then you can flip this around. Now this is kind of on a little floating hinge, like it can slide in and out. There are detents. So there's like a little, you see that little pin right there. It's like a little white pin. It never really is exposed because this thing covers it up the whole time, but you can see it in there. And there's little holes, so it likes to sit in either this position, which is bull mode, or if you rotate it around, it has another detent, another position. But we're going to put it in bull mode. And then you flip this around, and it helps to do, while it's at 90 degrees, it helps to kind of get that flipped. And then this goes all the way around and tabs onto those two rectangular pegs. And that's pretty much bull mode leg. Now in the video I had them up at an angle because it helped for him standing them on his head, but it doesn't much matter here while you're handling it live. So we flip this around, flip this, rotate this, seat the tabs in, make sure the little guidepost goes in properly, and you know, there's the bull legs. So now we'll focus on the rest of the body and take a break. We'll take a little break and look at the comments. There's been some comments going on. Tra-la-la. Brickmaster says, what's up, guys? What's up, Brickmaster? Mr. J-Dog, Cameron's videos. I'm in my 10s. That's funny. Yeah, the Generation 1 Transformers weren't terribly complicated, were they, Jay? If there was a shockwave, sound wave from Beast Wars, I bet it would be a bat. It would be a good choice. You could probably look through that guy's pictures. There's a book you can buy from him where he compiled like all his mechanical sort of Beast Wars designs. Yeah, the Unicron. I got tracking information for that Zeta Unicron, or Cell 1 Unicron, but it isn't tracking yet. But apparently it's been shipped, and someday it's going to get here, I think. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited. I'm going to have to figure out a new way to get my camera far enough across the room to fit it in frame. It's a big, big boy, 18, 19 inches tall. The Dinobots were really cool. The original Dinobots. My favorite one was Snarl, just because I like the gold back plates on the Stegosaurus. Oh, you got to transform an MP36? I think it's a real pleasure to transform that thing. If you follow my video, you'll do it right. Did you follow my video? I hope you did, because it's the whole point. The only problem I had with them were the colors and everything else. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of gold and gaudy. My most complicated Transformers Unique Toys Challenger. It's a great... That Challenger's very elegant. I like it. Yeah. He's a six-changer. A lot of the modes for six-shot are kind of arbitrary. It's like, well, it's a car now. I had someone loaned me, like, the... which one was it? Like, the DX9 Hanzo six-shot. And I would show my wife the modes, and she would just kind of roll her eyes because, you know, it's a car. It's a jet. Sure it is. Let's do the legs, everybody. Here we go. This thing can kind of rock in and out, you know, like at this stage. Not too big a deal, but you just have to make sure you're aware that there's a pin on this front plate that goes into the one hole on the bottom of the hoof. So it should sit like that. I suppose I could cover that on the way back. So we're just going to move that out of the way. Move this out of the way. Flip up the foot and put the toe away. There's they put kind of rubberized pads or a softer plastic. They really tend to fall out. So I actually put one of the glue dots that I use for the videos to keep the figure still. I actually put a glue dot in the pad. Hopefully it won't fall out. I pulled it out of my backpack the other day and it was missing, and I was like, oh my god, I lost the pad. Fortunately, it had fallen out in the backpack, so that worked out. So it helps to disengage the inside of the leg there. It just sits on a couple of pins. And I like to just go ahead and bring it up like 90 degrees. Because this part of the leg, as we flip it up, I like to move the foot up so there's clearance. But there's basically a tab here that goes into a slot. It washes out because of the video quality, but there's a slot on the back of the white part of the thigh there. So it sits like that. But it really helps to turn this part around before you put the leg together. So I'm going to pull that up. The tail really helps on this side pull the piece up. And this just rotates while simultaneously the leg joint rotates and stays kind of in the same place. So now that's out. But it collides with this if you have this put away yet. But now that we've rotated that, we can put this away. It just comes up and tabs kind of into the same tab. There you go. And then we can flip this up and fold this over, and it tabs in. It kind of holds the leg together a little bit there. And then we can lower this down. We'll just leave the tail alone for a minute. And we'll put the leg down in position. Just kind of tabs in there. It can have kind of a splayed stance, so it gives you a little more articulation if you want it. And we're just going to do the same thing over here. Just going to flip that down, flip this up, tab into the back of the thigh. This one's a little trickier to get, but I just get in here with the fingernail or a tool, and I lift that up. flips up, and then the whole thing rotates simultaneously while you unrotate the other part, like that. And then you can lower that down, and we can put the leg away, the front of the leg, tab it, flip this up, fold it over, and then we can bring the legs together. There we go. We can fold the tail into the center, and cow tails kind of hang down. I probably spent 15 minutes or 30 minutes the other day before I did the video trying to figure out what a cow does with its tail. You know, like it doesn't wag it like a dog, but it kind of flops it up, like it horks it up and smacks at flies on its rump. So I kind of tried to reproduce that, but it looked a little too smooth and cat-like, frankly. But I don't spend a lot of time animating them. I'm just trying to transform them. Alright, so those peg in there. These side skirts peg in there. We're almost done. Then we'll talk about some other stuff. I don't think this guy's so complicated I need to show it going the other way. I did go over some of the points along the way, so I think that's fine. I'll transform them off screen later. And then the head can kind of articulate. It's got a couple of different joints. So I like to bring it down like that. And it seems like bulls kind of, like their horns are kind of lined up so that they can tilt their head down a little bit. And that's where their eyes are pointed. So I do that angle. But he's kind of cool. He's got a little, there's like a little notch in the side of the missile rack that lets you tab in the gun so you don't have to lose the gun. And that's him. He's pretty cool. Pretty neat little figure. Not terribly expensive. Scrolling back up. Wow, you guys have been really chatting away at each other. I feel superfluous. I counted the steps actually on MP44, which is pretty complicated, and I came to 83 steps for MP44. And that's not counting symmetry. Like, if you do the legs, you're doing a bunch of steps on each leg. But I didn't count, like, the symmetry steps. They're presumed to be happening simultaneously. But there's quite a few more than 83 steps if you counted every little thing you had to do. But 83 steps for MP44. Someone was comparing that to the new Freedom Leader that I did a couple of weeks ago. And that actually only had 66 steps. So imagine MP44 on a package. 83 steps, you know. And let's see, MP46. What do I think of the MPM ratchet? I mean, I'll get it because I like the robot mode, and Ratchet's kind of underrepresented in the Transformers lines. But it really seems kind of low effort. Because not only in vehicle mode do they have a bunch of crap hanging off the bottom of the vehicle. I don't know why they think 4x4 vehicles, like the underside of the vehicle doesn't count. You know, like I want a 4x4 vehicle that actually has like clearance and could really be a 4x4. So that's low effort. And then the amount of backpack he has when you're done transforming it to robot mode, that seems pretty low effort too. So I don't know. The MPM line is starting to lose its shine, especially like, and I'll get it because I'm an idiot, but the MPM Starscream is kind of a similar phenomenon. I think the robot mode looks pretty good. I don't see anything backpacky about that. But the plane mode is just, once again, it's a plane that looks like a plane from the top, and from the side it looks like a plane stuck on top of a pile of stuff, and from the bottom it looks truly awful. I've got some Yamato Macross jets toys, figures, and you know, whoever designed the Macross figure and whoever imitated that when they designed the Yamato figures, really well thought out. So the Yamatos, those jets from the bottom look like jets, and from the side they look like jets, and you know, they're jets. I think I wouldn't mind seeing someone like Unique Toys try to do Starscream and actually make it look like a jet from all angles. I'm so sick of jets with robots stuck under them. All right, you used my video. I'm okay with that. I think I like MGO. No, MGO I think is one of the ones I always kind of noticed, like he'd wander out of frame on an important step, and it's like, dude, edit. But he's pretty good. What's the biggest backpack? Oh God, who has a backpack? I mean, MP44 gets a bunch of shit for having a backpack, but it's really not that bad compared to MP45. Bumblebee has a pretty pronounced and unmanaged backpack. I don't know. It's hard to think of every figure I've ever handled in terms of backpack. We'll just say MP45 is one of the more grotesque backpacks I've seen in a while. He looked great from the front, but the backpack's pretty sad. I had some other items we could discuss. Someone asked on a forum on Facebook, and I totally, like, I made it too complicated, and I'm sorry. Because the guy was showing, he was having trouble getting this figure to tab in. This is the DX9 sort of legend-sized swoop. And I got all excited because there is like a weird little clearance issue with this thing. But it turns out he had simply forgotten to slide this backslide. So he was actually having trouble with that. But for anyone who cares to know, there is another clearance issue with this. If you go to set the leg down, you can see the leg collides with the blue hip skirt there. And if you leave it like that, you're never going to get the tab to line up. You can see it sits too high. So the trick is to make sure that the leg envelops the hip skirt. So you can see I've put it inside the socket there. And then it lines up. So we'll do the same thing over here real quick just to show it. But we're just making sure that the leg goes around the hip skirt, and then you can put this into position and tab it. So just a small note on DX9 swoop. Although, like I said, it turns out that he wasn't actually having that problem. I got excited. I thought I'd show this off. I've always wanted one of these. When I was younger, like in my 20s, I saw one of these at KB Toys at the mall, and I really wanted one, but I didn't. I was 20, so I didn't have any money, and so I fulfilled my lifelong dream of getting this piece of garbage. It's really pretty terrible. Like the head sits. And this is not like a mistransformation or anything, but like the head just literally sits where it's kind of angled upwards. He's like a shaman, and he's just staring at the heavens. Why have you forsaken me, bear god? I don't know. But this is a ridiculous thing. It turns into an elephant. Part of it's an elephant, part of it's an eagle, and part of it's a lion. And it's called Magna Boss. And it's dumb. But I always wanted one, so I got one when I saw a good price on eBay. I don't know if MP44 Prime has the worst backpack. It's, in my opinion, it's thick, but it's not like unruly, and it's not that bad. I think a lot of people were kind of shocked because they're like, oh, for such an expensive masterpiece figure, why is there this big backpack? It kind of looks like they could have avoided it by having it transform, like the grill, the front of the truck, maybe be a little flatter and transform a little flatter and not have the electronics or whatever, but that's compared to like MP45, the backpack is a pile of disorder. But I've defended MP45 because they're trying to turn it from like that fat little like penny racer style chibi car into a cartoon accurate Bumblebee. And what are you going to do? How do you do that? So I think they did an admirable job with Bumblebee. It is ugly though. MPM8. Which one was MPM8? I'm losing track. You guys use all these code words. I don't know what the hell are. Oh, the Megatron? Yeah, I didn't like the Megatron. It's the only MPM so far that I haven't gotten. I didn't like it. And people even came out with like the kind of oversized knockoff cheaper versions of MPM-8, and I didn't like it enough to even bother getting those. If that thing is never on my shelf, I don't care. I thought the movie design was dumb. It doesn't turn into like a... It turns into a really stupid looking jet. It turns into a really stupid looking robot. I don't like that design at all. That movie Megatron. Also, on the incoming roster, we're not going to go into it too much because I'll be talking about it all next week. But I thought you guys might find this interesting. I got this big boy. This is Kang Toys. Kang Toys is making their own Predaking. And it's going to be big. Although I saw someone actually attach this arm guy. They attached it to a Zeta Combaticon guy. What's his name? Bruticus? They attached it to a Zeta Bruticus instead of the space shuttle arm, and it was the right scale. So apparently this is very Zeta scale, very Toy World constructor scaled. He comes with this awesome giant hand. I mean, that's just very impressive. I love the articulation on this hand, too. It's got that. You can splay the fingers, but it doesn't rely on ball joints, which can be problematic. So I like that. And it's kind of cool. The hands actually turn into a crab. I'll give you a little tease, because this won't be featured in the video anyway, so it doesn't matter. But we can take this. We can flip it around here, and then this goes like this, and this flips over the top like this. So you can see it's got the kind of the crab claw, and then you flip it all the way around this side, and you put it along the side and flip out the arm, and then this combiner joint flips up and over onto top. It's just, but you can see this is half a crab. So it's got kind of an eyeball there. It's got the 4 legs. It's got the claw, and it'll eventually combine with the other hand to form a crab. That's fun. So it's a really good looking hand, and it turns into a pretty decent looking crab too, without too much of a sacrifice to either mode. And I think that's a fun idea. I have to wonder what the feet might combine to form. Like, what do they do? What do they do with the feet? And it's still open speculation whether this figure will have like the fake thighs, like the Zeta combiners do. Not fake, but you know, not part of one of the other figures, just add-on thighs. So are they going to be like that, or are they going to be, is there going to be a 6th figure that forms the, like the thighs and the hips? It is a mystery. Nobody knows the answer yet. Bobby Skullface pointed out that it's, you know, you can be a little skeptical when, you know, they've clearly designed the whole thing, but they're not showing pictures of the combined mode. It makes you wonder, like, what's wrong with the combined mode? But I think it looks like it's going to be really good, so I'm willing to do it. That's a cool hand. That's a good one. But of course, this will be Sunday. I can't quite decide if I want to do like the triple changer, where I just go from like tiger to robot to arm and call it a day, like I did with some of the Studio Series figures, or if I want to try to find my primordial mode for this and do like the full 6 different transformations in the speed run like I do with the MMC figure. Maybe you guys can opine. Dark of the Moon Megatron? What, where he turns into the old beat up tractor trailer? That's okay. I kind of liked his tank mode in Revenge of the Fallen. That was a cool mode. And I like his jet. I like his jet mode, the one that Unique Toys Dragoon does, or the little guy I did last week. I like that jet mode from, what is that? The Last Night. I think the Last Night. By the time you get to the Last Night, they're really doing more of a filled out characters. The earlier, like the first movie, all the Transformers for some reason were very skeletal. They were very, I don't know. I didn't quite like that design. I mean, I can respect it. They're good artists, but just not very good script writers. No, I hear you. They can be ugly. It was an interesting design philosophy in the movies. I mean, I kind of like the fact that the Autobots, for the most part, looked like normal humanoids, and the Decepticons looked like sort of grotesque monsters. Like, something about becoming a Decepticon makes you look more and more deformed or less willing to hew to the normal anthropoid norm. Although, I mean, nobody can properly explain why Optimus Prime is shaped like a human being in the first place. I mean, why don't they all look like, robot spiders or something? Anyway, kids, that's it for today. I started late, and we're about to collide with dinner. So we'll put the bull on feature. He's very red, just like ferocious. This thing's a big chunk of thing. And he's got some, like, really crazy, like, this one's not doing it as bad as it did before, but there's, like, this squeak. It's just nylon plastic rubbing on nylon plastic. I think this is the one I loosened up, so maybe that's why it doesn't make as much noise anymore. It's a pretty good figure. It's clearly a saber-toothed tiger. It's got those long saber claw teeth, canines, felines. But that's the deal. That is all for now. I'll give you the obligatory 2-minute warning for any final important questions, anything on your minds, and then we'll be heading out. So I'm standing by. This is my old camera that broke. I found a place that supposedly will repair this, but it's just a cheap 40D. But for some reason, this thing, the little flip-up mirror, doesn't flip up anymore. It can't operate the shutter. There's something broken. I think mechanically broken. And I keep putting off sending it in, and someday the other camera's going to die, and I'm going to feel stupid because I'm just going to have to buy another camera. And then I'll have 2 broken cameras that I forget to have repaired. Yeah, the Predaking was one of the bigger combiners. I had them until I was in my 20s, and I sold them for money. I sold my whole G1 collection for the most part. And I kind of regret it, but I needed the money. But I had like a pretty complete G1, especially the first couple of years of collecting before. Like when I turned like 13, I kind of lost interest in Transformers, so I stopped asking for them for Christmas in lieu of not PlayStation's, Nintendo games, and it just went all video game for me. But for the first couple of years, I had a lot of G1 figures. I've only got a few left at this point. I've still got my Jetfire because it's like my favorite. That was such a good Transformer. Mostly because it was just a Tokotaku. It was borrowed from Tokotaku as Macross VF1 Jet, which is a good design. But yeah, I had a Predaking, and it was big. Bigger than the other ones. And this is going to be, Zeta sized. It's going to be big, but with the wings. I've got the oversized, like the Jin Bao Feral Rex, and that's pretty good. but it's kind of fat. One thing I liked about the looks of this and the other one that we've seen pictures of is it turns into a fairly lean arm. It's not like a big fat arm. And so it does a good job of managing the chunks, the mass, than the Feral Rex did. Well, 2 minutes is definitely up. I appreciate everyone stopping by and checking out my live stream. If you own this and you had any trouble with it, it's not that complicated, but maybe that helped. And general discussion and stuff. And we're done. Everyone have a nice day. Have a nice weekend. See you on Sunday for the premiere of the new video for King Toys Ferocious. Farewell.